Okay, I figured let's try it during the daytime, see if we get more action this time. Unfortunately, Rosetta is out of the house at the moment, so if she does show up, it'll be late. But like I said, she's become my unofficial co-host at this point. The only one who actually responds to an invite. But a little something that came up and gave us a bit of a topic for the day. Manu Manu, played Ichab. Okay. Hawaiian names. Is thoroughly confused of why conservatives like Star Trek about such a liberal show. Okay, Manu, by some wild chance you happened across this thing. Star Trek was back when they did it. Liberal meant something very different than what it means now. Liberal now it's lost the meaning. It's well, let's just set up. I'm not gonna find it out here. So it's all mute. That's why I go nuts. Okay, now let's get the dictionary definition of liberal. This is actually following up on a thing I wrote back in college and resulted in talking to the professor later on because even back in like '83, it was like this. That doesn't word mean what it used to mean. And I was trying to think because I've always been on the conservative side of things, and I was trying to think of could I possibly argue a position that I don't necessarily believe in. Could I make that argument? Well, let's see. Dictionary definition from the Oxford thing here. Liberal. One, willing to respect or accept behavior or opinions different from one's own, open to new ideas. Does this sound like the left these days? No. They're the most intolerant bunch around. Everyone's talking about censoring free speech, and calling everyone a Nazi. Doesn't agree with them. Let's see, relating to or denoting a political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Again, does that sound like the left of today? A supporter of policies that are socially progressive and promote social welfare. This is one of the newer ones, but even and supporter. Again, the left today is not liberal. That's I sent a note to Robert Kennedy, who's also confused of why I think liberals today are so. I said, stop calling them liberals. This definition of liberal is now on the right, like Hank Williams Jr. said. We're the party of freedom and fun. The whole point. And here, why Star Trek appeals to the. And no, Brian Fuller, it's not because of some appeal to the neo-fascist nature of Starfleet. If you were, I would slap you from even mentioning, even coming up with that stupid idea, because that is so insulting. It's below contempt. No, Star Trek, and one part of the brilliance of the way Roddenberry set this up is all of the things that we fight over now: resources, money, in the Star Trek universe, it has been done away with. Fusion power, replicator technology. There's no more fighting for resources. The energy is there. You want something, hit a button, it's there. You don't have to work your ass off to try and afford a car. The resources are plentiful enough that you can get it easily. Everyone is off your damn back, and you're allowed to do what you really want to do. Be yourself. You don't have to tie yourself to a job you hate for 20 years, or 20, 30 years, and maybe at the end of it, if you're still alive, you got a gold watch and a meager pension. And now you're finally able to do what you want, but you're too damn broken down and broke to do anything with it. But yeah, you're in your 40s and 50s, and okay, now you can do what you want. Great. I want to learn how to skateboard, but now I can't even stand upright. Thanks a lot. You fucking, The Star Trek, it's like as a post-scarcity economy. We don't know what that would be like, actually. But it's a presentation. Okay, this is what it's like Craig Ferguson said. America is a testament to what people can be and do if you leave them alone. And we're forgetting that. They're forgetting the aspect of what Americans will be to let the people determine their own fate. Leave them alone. And that's the thing where Roddenberry was still very much a patriot. The ideal of the American way. It's like leave people alone. Stop meddling in their lives. And that is the appeal of because that is very much the conservative people. To leave people alone. You know? The old song, mind your own business, you won't be minding mine. You know. But it's you could dig up, that thing of like it's off this Inside Star Trek album where you kind of open, online did, essay on the Star Trek philosophy, explain IDIC, what really infinite diversity, infinite combinations really means. It's like let everyone, let these differences intermingle and watch them create something even better than what you had to begin with. We're going back to everyone's self-segregating. Like you guys really didn't pay attention to the whole civil rights movement, did you? You know, I mean, all the things a lot of the black when they finally got into the white schools, realized we had better stuff in the black schools. What the hell are we doing here? So, the white schools are allowed to just kind of coast for a while, whereas the black schools, we got to do it twice as good as the white man, and we ain't going to get anywhere. And they had top level, but the science lab in a white school, this is crap. Why are we doing this again? Who's selling the theory that the white kids get all the good stuff and we got crap? We got better stuff. But that's another. So yeah. Again, I'll put a link. I'll throw a link in there somewhere. But going to that one, if I have, I don't know if I should see. I should just check to see if I have done a video on that. It's just one of the where I'll just clips from that album. Well, I'll see. I should probably do a new one even if I have. It's several years old. And I can do more stuff now. But yeah, it confuses these guys. Like, why do conservatives like Star Trek? It's a liberal show, not in the modern day definition of liberalism, apparently. Because again, it's modern day leftism is not liberal at all. It is downright totalitarian. To call us Nazis, you guys are the fascists, in every step of the way. Except instead of brown shirts, you're wearing rainbow shirts and all this other thing. It's like the rainbow has replaced the swastika. People, really, And part of it is also because the school system has failed so badly. They don't know what a Nazi is. If a Nazi walked up today, they wouldn't know it if it goosed up them in the ass. Scare the crap out of them. Oh yeah, Dad, the Nazis. Yeah. Go ahead. No, and you want to set this here, put this little rainbow on you. That way we know you're the one of us. Yes. Go ahead. And then when when the real power brokers come out behind, holy crap. And we'll be back here saying, we told you. You listen to us? No. Okay, that's a little debate about what Roddenberry is doing, where his stance on all this is. I mean, there is an element of, he's pretty much only there in the current productions for geek cred. And that would be a requirement somehow, but from one of the things that Roddenberry had put in place, it's like you don't do a Star Trek show without one of my family being involved with it somehow and making sure we get a check. That's what that based on Star Trek, created by Gene Roddenberry. That means they got to send a check to the Roddenberry estate for every episode that comes up. Yeah, and they're talking about the Roddenberry archive. I think eventually things will sort out. Okay, it'll take many years, I think. Where we can get a sufficient generation of fans that appreciate the original stuff and know it and read. Okay, well that doesn't. Okay, that's an alternate stuff. Okay, don't kick that off. If you like it, fine, but don't mix it with the good stuff. Oh, in the category of accomplishing things today. Oh, this I found out in the parking lot in front of World Market. I found me a wig. It was rather tangled up in mess, so I had to get it untangled. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, but good black wig is something to have. I might, find some use for it. Probably as a Klingon headdress of some sort. But the big thing is in the ongoing quest to turn this into something usable. I still gotta get some sandpaper and sand this smooth. Doesn't have to be just smoother than it is right now. So when I put the metallic paint on it, it looks like it's been new. But one of the things I've been dealing with is the fact of the visor. Didn't have any. Well, went to Lowe's, and the original idea I had was get one of those, face mask, personal sneeze guard things that came out big during COVID. And well, the ones they had are like $90. No, that's a bit much. I just need the plastic. Well, right around the next aisle, I finally found plexi, and got a scrap piece for less than $10. Big enough so I could do that, and actually left over afterwards, and probably do other things with it too. But yeah, the Mandalorian project continues. The rest of the armor, I got patterns for that to make it out of foam core. But the big thing, the helmet, even the helmet could do, but I'd just rather get the helmet as a good thing. Big thing was, that plastic visor. So now as I get the plastic, I could get a tinting kit and get that straightened out. One of the things I love about Mandalorian thing is you can customize your armor any which way you want. That's where I kind of feel sorry for the 501st and stormtroopers, because everyone's got to be the storm. You can play around a little bit with the clone troopers, but not much. You still got to be within certain parameters to do clone trooper armor, because you're still part of an organized military. I got to respond to this because talking about Rod's role. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll just say now what I want to say now. Rod Roddenberry does have a kind of a vested interest in preserving his family. Like that's got a very good sense of this is his family's legacy. Yeah, he was a Star Wars fan growing up. He wasn't into Star Wars. It was something his dad did. But his dad brought him on. I mean, he was roughly the same age as Will Wheaton, so they were like brothers. Growing up on Next Gen set, they hang out a lot. And because they had Rod on there was working as a PA, and he was working on bringing him up and saying, hey, you got this name, let's take advantage of it and see if you got a future here. And he was around for the Earth Final Conflict and Andromeda, so he was learning the ropes there. So he's not a total newbie as far as television production. He's worked his way up, but as far as Star Trek goes, he is a late convert. He is figuring out. He did a whole documentary, Trek Nation, of why the big fan base. What is something he talked to a lot, including George Lucas. And he talked to Bjo and other people about what is this thing going on? What is this thing that my dad created? I couldn't care less about when I was a kid. And as such, I think he's still in that phase where he can be led astray by certain elements. The elements named Alec Kurtzman. And I know I'm talking to the ether here, but I need to do something. Anyway, they say it was probably wasn't the Roddenberry archive at Otoe. It probably wasn't an idea. Well, probably not his initial idea, but I think he's certainly enthusiastic about it, and he's throwing a full support on it. He's opened up the archives, and they start getting stuff in there, and hopefully it'll get really online, because what they've done, they've recreated every bridge, even some that were never got beyond concept sketches. They've managed to do that. So he's creating a record. What I would like Rod to do is go back into that the vault, so the big storage, wherever they got all the film clips, and release some more stuff, not necessarily Star Trek related. I want to see some of them pilots that he shot when he was trying to make it on his own, like call that the Roddenberry collection there. Where let's see, APO 924. It's online. Some reason they snipped the opening credit thing, but it's not a funny show. It was MASH before there was MASH. It was a little way before its time. There was a couple other places. The Long Hunt of April Savage is always kind of fascinating me, and a few others out there. That's let's see some of this stuff. Let's see what else he was doing. But this could be fun, Let's try that and see. Yeah, look, something happened with the chat window there. Not that anybody's there to chat anyway, but what the hell? At least when it's working, even if nobody's there to chat. Oh, poor me. All right. So let's go ahead and poke our heads onto Twitter here and let's see. Answer the question. Okay. I think I may need to get into this thread and once again see if I can divert this little bit of chat here. To get to this, come on, let's have a real life, Whoops. Get some folks on here. Come on. I need an audience, damn it. Get somebody to show up here thing. More than just monologue about stuff in here. It's where these things come in. It's like, it's not just, man, if I'm just going to monologue, I'll just record a video and do what I want, but I want to get going. Get it back and forth going here. So somebody's finally showing up, so that's a start. Even if I don't have a panel, it's like this back and forth with the chat. Okay. But yeah, it's like Rod can be taught. That's the thing. Rod Roddenberry, he is realizing, a little late in life, but he's realizing that no, this is his family legacy, and you need to get behind it and start, building on it. And unfortunately, he's been saddled with Kurtzman just like the rest of us. And I think the last couple of episodes of one season of Discovery, they had left off We're doing fine. Just need to get a dialogue going here with people. I missed one. All right, away with you. All right. Because yeah, when Rod went off to college, and like he was like he was a Star Wars guy and rock and whatever. But I don't know where I'd set up a 3D printer anyway. But I one day I would like because some of these models have some missing pieces, and a few of them it's like have pieces I like to replace with something like a little more clear. But I'm certainly got a few things that aren't. I've got the Mandalorian helmet that was 3D printed. And imagine the size of the printer needed to print this sucker out. Oh. Then if anybody the name Dave Merriman. I'm more of a kit assembler in his book. Okay. Oh yeah, no, it's something that been for many years. Let's see. This one, I think this one dates back to high school or thereabouts. Or is that this the con? No, wait, hold on. Which one are you? Damn it! Come on, tangle this else. Oh, it's a constellation. Never mind. Well, I got one around here. I think it dates back to high school. What I'm gonna do, I don't know, because once upon a time I'd hang it from the ceiling, but like that might be a bit of a chore now because these ceilings are kind of high. Now it's kind of like I'm just sort of working out little things here because I'm my own little rationalization of certain aspects of canon is I'm trying to make popularize the idea that the 18-inch Enterprise kit is not a Constitution class ship. However, it is screen accurate to the Constellation. But because the proportions are a little off, certain angles are not quite right. This is actually a slightly older class of ship than the Constitution class. I've dubbed it the Bonhomme Richard class, which is sort of reflective of some Starfleet battle stuff. And also to work into that, you recall the first appearance of the Yamato in Next Gen, NCC 1305E. It's like, sorry, Makakuda, but spoken dialogue, kind of trumps graphics. So I thought, okay, well, let's trace it back here. This means that the original Yamato 1305 would be one of these old guys. And so this is a reclamation from model I picked up at an antique shop. This is one of those with the little half moon nacelle connector in there, and it had been put in backwards. And because of the slight angle, it does affect the way the nacelle. So I had to rip it apart, try and guy used a lot of glue. Managed to get it somehow took apart and put it. Okay, yeah, mine's up now. It's recently went through a big uh, ship restoration thing where a lot of these ships are they had to glue them back together. But also, let's see. Oh, darn it! Come on. I know. This poor thing. This is the Revell Enterprise, only from Germany, so maybe kind of a bit of an import thing. But this one, they had an interesting strategy. They wanted to incorporate every version of the Enterprise into this one kind of amalgamation. So there's aspects of it that are from the 11-foot, some from the 3-foot, some from the animated version, which makes for a bit of a schizophrenic ship. But size-wise, it's just a teensy bit longer than the old AMT kit. In fact, I'm probably sure you could probably fit the intercoolers from this one onto here. It'd be fine. So I'll go with the next step up. This is the same scale, and this one, for the oddities there are the detail. They're closer. It's not fully accurate, but it is closer. Uh, well, no, that's decals. They were not anything. I would like to get another one of these, take another shot at this, but these are kind of pricey. I thought I had lost this piece and moving things out here, but that was a pain because I lost the original piece from this kit and I had to go back, send back to Germany to get a replacement. Let's put that one back there. But also in a little political statement regarding Discovery. So 1031 Red Sea. Here's what the Discovery should have been. It's just stickers on here, but but one of these days when I finally get around to finishing this sucker up, and I got the decals waiting. You might see, okay, how but this will be the sister ship of the Constellation, which I have right over here. Come on, you. Yes, before encountering the Doomsday Machine. And I make a point is this is an older, before they redid the molds in the mid 70s and screwed up even further than it was. I think that the only difference is I do prefer the kind of early 70s one with the half moon thing instead of the tab through the thing. That never works. But for those who are curious, I also got the post Planet Killer version. So just missing the deflector dish on that. Oh, two people. All right. No, that one I made, one of the when people do a constellation model, they tend to overdo the damage. I made a point of getting pictures and making very careful notes from the screen of how badly was the constellation scooter and make sure that it didn't go any beyond that. Because some people they do, and they're great big huge bites taken out of the hull, like half of a cell left. No, it wasn't that bad. I said, man, one of these days I might. One thing, I need more floor space to stand up a ladder. But also I need a ladder because these are pretty high ceilings. And I'm also because I got a 1350 Enterprise back there, which I'm held up on because I ran out of paint. And they apparently don't make that shade. The people, the company that make don't make that gray anymore, which is irritating. It's primer. What the hell? Why do you not make gray primer? So I might have one working can left with a clogged nozzle, and I got another can with the nozzle's fine. It's just empty. So if once you get to past the rainy season out here, and I've swapped it around, see if maybe I can get away with finishing up that model. Otherwise, I got to paint the whole thing all over again with a different shade. But one of the things I got to do is get the lights working. Yes, please bring more. Okay. It's because I got the lighting kit. It's an old lighting kit. We took advantage when my wife got her disability started. There's also something they do when you actually became disabled, but not by the time you filed in get the first thing. There's also the figuring how when you got disabled, and we got a nice big back pay on that one, so we had a little fun with that. And part of it was getting that model and the lighting kit, and a few of them. And I got it mostly done. The only thing I left to really paint is the underside of the saucer, one bit that goes into the bottom of the secondary hull, and then there's also the fan tail. I have to paint that. That one's going to need some light blocking regardless of what final shade I get. But, yeah, we got a bunch, but that one I did finally determine if we used a 9-volt battery that yes, the lights in the Bussard collectors, I got the lights and the motor to work at the same time. Okay, so that works. I had concern because I couldn't get the lights to work with the test on the line kit. So You know, somehow I just didn't get a wire connected right. So once I get that figured out, but right, it's just everything's over a standstill on that one over there. I'm planning on a series of videos working that up. Now, the first one's going to be just recap because a lot of it was just boring. You know, who wants to see me painting on, like, you know, whatever. Just I'm also taking a different approach with that because I'm masking up the windows. No, 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 no. No, just YouTube at the moment. It's a free version of Streamlabs, so I don't think, or StreamYard, so I don't think I could, you know, do more than one platform at a time just yet. Now the one sitting in the back, I'm not quite sure what I was thinking when I did that. I just throw them together. Throw them together. It's, you know, idle time. You know, do something with them later. Because an idea is basically a whole fleet of this, you know, pre-Constitution class, the Valiant and the Ranger and the, you'll see about, you know, probably go through, I don't know, one of the garage kit, you know, decal makers. Yeah, I'm seeing a two here. Nobody, you know, nobody speaking. Come on, this works better when everybody's talking. You know, and I'm trying to get something going that is not involved with the personal nonsense I've been, you know, kind of fixated on for the past, you know, several months or a few months. Let's see. Oh, got a couple of Klingons here. The old standard D7. Fortunately, this was the reissue they did in the mid '90s, so the things on the side aren't quite right. You know, they got little, what the hell they were thinking. They would have lost the molds for that part. So I racked up a few, you know, old kits in the boxes, and go. Don't you go knocking that off again. Come on. And my lovely Katinga. These are actually very fun to paint if you do it, know what you're doing, because the details already molded in, so you can just, you know, brush it on, you know, weathering, you know, just it looks, you know, looks a lot more work to put in than I actually did. Yeah, I got the 1000 Voyager here. Unfortunately, it took a tumble since the deflector housing has gone missing. I'm able to figure what's going on there. But yeah, it's like I got it. You know, Cult TV. I was doing a kind of a flash sale, so I was able to get it for, like, you know, half off, about $20. Normally it's a $50 kit. So, well, yeah, I'm going to move on this. I'm going to kick myself for, you know, forever if I don't move on it. And I got, you know, a bunch of little collection of 1000 ships. Now this is actually a first pilot version. They don't have the spikes in because they don't want to stick in by themselves. When I finally get around to, you know, finishing the sucker, then I'll, you know, glue them in. Right now they're in a little pouch over by the laptop. But do you want to talk about, you know, no, they can. The current shows has no claim to trying to say, oh yeah, we're paying. We just did a visual reboot. Bull, because these are supposedly the same scale. Right. And so, well, they refit it. Yeah, okay, let's see. You started with this thing, refit into this thing, and then back to this thing. In what universe is that even remotely possible? And we've lost everyone now. And while I got this, they're going to, you know, and my thing of renaming this the Bonhomme Richard class. I'm Norman. Whoops. Something's loose. I'm naming this one the Yorktown class. I'm going to throw back to that initial page. I think we've lost an end cap over here somewhere. At least I know it's over here somewhere. And that was going to, because this was based on John Eves' original pitch for the NX-01. And it was nuked because it looked too much like, the original series SIP, and then went to Drexler and he came up with what he did. But there's plenty of callbacks on there to the NX class. Yeah, it's not, So my plan for this one, like I said, I'm going with the Yorktown class. It's going to be, the actual scale is more like, to these guys, because they're about the same size. Well, it's just a teensy bit shorter than the old AMT kit. And like I said, it'd be like just, I figured they originally came out, like the tail end of the Romulan War type thing. So by the time these guys come along, they're falling apart. They're war horses. The original idea I had was this is gonna, I figured that was gonna be what if they had gone to start showing the Daedalus class. I figured Burma would have said, okay, that that wing that Hughes did, that'll be and screw the tennis ball and beer can design that everyone latched onto. But Drexler pointed out to me that no, I always pictured that design actually as a pre-NX class. It's like, okay, I can buy that. All right. No, because that always bugged me. There's a reason why it was rejected in '64. Okay, it doesn't make for a good hero ship. That big blue. But Drexler, you light it right, it'll be fine. Okay, fine. I'm willing to be convinced. But I am skeptical. Oh, another of my quest of things to accomplish is to unearth the rest of my phasers. This is one of the new ones. I got at Walmart. And there are differences, and I want to get my old ones out so I can start damaging it. The grip is shaped differently. The trigger, they made it a pull trigger, like a regular trigger. That's not the way it's supposed to be a button. No, the NX-01 was not the first. There were starships. There were plenty of starships before that. In fact, in some of the bigger scenes, you got an NV and NV and it's like, yeah, they kind of stumbled into it a bit. I think when they this is an NX class starship, which that's not the way this was supposed to work. But you go back to older reference, Pike was injured and inspecting an old Class J starship, cadet cruiser. So you work that in. Okay, maybe they stumbled into a correct answer. But so maybe and certain things got changed over when the Earth Starfleet became Federation Starfleet. That's it. Bureaucratic shuffling around is always fun to figure out because big discussion a while back about the United Earth Space Probe Agency. And where the hell they got that one? Then I had to point out that no, tomorrow was yesterday is only the first time we had that explained of what it stood for. But they did try and sneak in a few USPA headquarters. We got but the thing is, it was like blinking and miss at references. It just went right on by, and nobody said, "What the hell?" And it's on to the next thing before you figure out USPA. But I think it was by the time we got to tomorrow's yesterday, that same episode also references Starfleet. So a little bit of digging, figuring around. They say, okay, here and when Gene Kuhn came aboard, a lot of that's where the idea of the Federation came in and just Starfleet, and that's where they started getting fully formed here. But our authority is the United Earth Space Probe Agency. That's a pretty definitive statement from your lead character. You can't ignore it. So you got to figure out a way around it. And so they figure, okay, well, all right. Let's figure that that USPA predates, that is Earth's contingency of, their own, the Earth's, space force, space, operation thing. Starfleet is the Federation thing, and member planets have to contribute things to, resources to personnel and ships to Starfleet out of their own thing. Earth does it through United Earth Space Program Agency, and also apparently most of the ships are done by that. Other technologies. Oh, I have several copies. I've gone through. I've got one back on the shelf over there. Got another one over here. I gave one away to my kid sister. I probably got 3 or 4 more hiding in storage right now. So yeah, I've got that. That, for long-term fans, that is our Bible right there. Even though acknowledged, no, they do. There's a few howlers in there, so they don't go going to that one as authoritative. They said shooting model was 14 feet long and a 10-foot wide saucer. It's like, someone try and plot out what that ship would look like if those are the dimensions. I think the 14-foot thing was because Bob Justman, I think, thought it was 14 feet, not 11 feet. It's like 11 feet 2 inches, and the saucer is like 5 feet in diameter. Okay. But that one hung around for a long time, and I think it was Doug Drexler when he was doing the Star Trek poster books. Was able to, when they were unboxing it. No, it's only 134 and a little bit inches and so there's a lot of stuff that someone makes a comment. Well, they should know what they're doing. No, not really. Okay, they know what they do on the show. They don't necessarily know what's going on across town at the effects house. It's like John Dwyer. He's a set dresser. He thought they had built the shuttlecraft on the lot, and because the supplied stuff for the interior. No, that was built by Gene Whitfield out in Phoenix. Okay, that's part of the deal with AMT. That's the bizarre thing. They'll and see what they built. They did the model of the Enterprise. It's kind of a merchandising thing. They get in exchange for the rights to the kids. Like they pretty much it's a swap. So so they were able to the show was able to get some merchandising going without having to do an outlay or thing. Pure profit for AMT for the most part, and also they agreed to build the full size shuttlecraft. And the thing is why it took them till like 75 to put out a kit. You've been sitting on this thing for years. That shuttlecraft kit should have been out by 68. Because the Enterprise model was a hit right out of the gate. They wore out the molds by 75 or so. They had to redo the mold because they had worn them out. But it was one of the top selling kits in the world, and started off and stayed that way for a long time. And I'm sure they're doing pretty, doing well again. They've had to reissue it in a new box now. I'm still not happy with how they redid the kit though, because I appreciate them getting rid of the mold lines, but I would rather they have just do new molds. Because the thing is, when you're doing a mold, it's a raised grid line on the saucer, which means it's recessed in the mold. And in order to remove that, you got to remove more of the mold surface. It's just a fraction of an inch, but it makes the kit, the thing a lot thicker. Well, in a way, there kind of was a Star Trek theme park. It's called Star Trek: The Experience in Las Vegas, and it was, thing going great guns. I'd been there a few times. Been on I was told about one time with the when you go through the ride to get on the Enterprise. There was one time there was some kind of convention and whole bunch of guys in full Klingon regalia, and on the bridge, and they got the thing where Riker's down by they're harassed by a race called Klingons. And it's like there's a whole row of them along the back wall. I never went on the Borg thing. That's the thing. It was just starting when I got there. We didn't get around to going to the Borg. The it was kind of neat, the transporter thing, because the way they did it, some of it was just happenstance. Because the way they, when they pulled the walls back, and it kind of, thing that wasn't planned. That was, but it just, hey, it works. It plays into it. The one regret is I never got to do it in uniform. That would have been great. Would have been real fun going on that set in, when I still fit in the damn uniform too. I still need to lose about another, 50 some pounds. Even think about trying to put on those uniforms anymore. But that would have been fun because I'd have been up there. It's like just as well as the guy next to me, Captain's Pips. It's like, Ensign, move aside. Let's see, what else have I got on here? Other than a baseball, I don't think that. I do have a JJ prize in here. It's still in the car, the Hot Wheels thing. I mainly got it because it's like 89 cents. That's about as much as I'll spend on that, stupid idiot thing. I have never taken it out mainly because I don't trust myself. I would consider it. One thing about being, living on the street for 5 years, you experience a lot of hotels, and depending on which era, like even NX era, it's like that wouldn't be a bad room. Now I know this is going to be a push for that, building a full size version of the Enterprise. It's like that has been proposed and brought up, God knows how many times over the decades, and the big problem, even putting aside the concerns that Vegas had, they very close to they're going ahead with that of building a full size Enterprise A on the strip. But the concern is like if this doesn't work, we're stuck with this giant starship at the end of down by the Luxor, and they one of the things they kind of live on. I can appreciate the fact is being able to rotate this stuff over, which is why they went with the thing at the Hilton, the Experience, because the idea was they were going to put in a Michael Jackson thing in that spot. I think the Experience was kind of starting to lag a little bit, and they hadn't had a new thing come out for us, so the updates were not happening. But the thing is, if it's just in an existing space, you can pull all that out, put in something else without having. Whereas if you build a full size starship, there's not much you can do with that, other than the star. And if the Star Trek thing doesn't work, well, what the hell do you do with it now? You can't dress it up as a McDonald's, But also, it's like this is fine as a model type thing, but an actual 947-foot long structure that is not designed to work in Earth gravity. This the whole thing. This is built in space, so this might or may not stand up under its own weight. You think models are bad with the nacelle sag? Try the whole real thing. How are these going to stand up sitting there? How's it going to hold up in the weather? And also, there's a lot of this ship nobody's going to be interested in seeing. Waste extraction, cargo bays, everything that's interesting is going to be the bridge, some quarters around here, and engineering. And a much more efficient way of seeing that is Kingsland, Georgia. During their fan weekends, it's where they shot Star Trek Continues. They've faithfully recreated those sets. they've continued to work on them because when I was down there, they didn't have a main view screen on the bridge yet. They do now, but there really wasn't a need for it at that time when they were making the shows. If they needed a bridge, there's easier and cheaper to put up green screen and CGI it in. But now they actually have a working view screen down there. So now when you sit in the command chair and look forward, you're seeing a view screen showing a Starscape, and you're not looking at the backside of the brig. Yeah, again, there's a lot of that ship. It's like it'd be wasted space in this situation. I mean, yeah, it'd be fun to see the hangar deck, but what are you gonna do? Okay, hangar deck. You got a shuttlecraft. All right, back to the gift shop. Like I said, the sets in Kingsland, Georgia, and I'll also mention, Ticonderoga, James Calling, the Phase 2 sets. But that's a different experience because they've got them, all the walls are built in. You got plasma screens on the bridge, and their sound effects being piped in. It's more of an immersive thing. Or like, for the most part, you're kind of going like what it'd be like on the ship. Kingsland, on the other hand, they're still working sets. They haven't built. They're still open, walls where the cameras come in. And there's not, the ceiling is still wide open. They don't have sound effects piped in all of them. Yeah, they can, but they don't always do that. And not everything's lit. You don't have the Burke chairs. Everything. All the chairs are on the bridge. And why aren't they in the also bridge? Because you didn't need them there. You need them on the bridge. If you're shooting in the briefing room, okay, take the chairs, take them down to the briefing room set. And also with the intercom panels, they're velcroed into play, because you don't have to build as many. So the Star Trek continues in a lot of ways, very true. So they wanted to hit the original series aesthetic in a lot of ways, and a lot of things they did was the same reason they did on the original show, because it was cheaper. If you wanted to build you only have 6 intercom panels as opposed to trying to fill the entire sets where nobody's shooting. So why would you need it there? If you need it, take it from there, bring it down. It's kind of when they're doing the pilots. Originally, the transporter console was the helm console. They just pull from the bridge, take it out of the transporter set, put it on a platform. We're just showing a proof of concept thing anyway. But yeah, you go on those sets and you look at the transporter console, for example. It's not perfectly. It's visible wood grain. You don't. You try and get the rocker switch. Be careful because they will go through. It's just not secure in there. But it looks great on camera. That's the big thing. And they actually added film grain to the videos for Star Trek Continues to make it look. And again, shooting the 4:3:8 ratio, making match up with the 35mm film they did at the time, and that's why I like that. It looks just like the original show. That was what they're shooting for. The Galactic Star Cruiser, there were many fathers to that disaster. Okay. They could have made that work with just a different approach instead of trying the immersive thing, and only like 2 days, and you're shelling out $6,000 for your family in there, and it's like for line dancing and bingo. It's like, no, an actual Disney cruise is cheaper than what they were charging for the Star Cruiser. Well, the experience was, the experience was getting old. And again, Michael Jackson was going to put in something in that spot. And he was probably offering the Hilton a lot more money than what Paramount was. Now, a lot of the stuff is because the artifacts, of course, went back to Paramount for storage. The ships, that was a bit of a kind of an irritant the way they were pulling, because they were just pulling them. The workers, they didn't give a rat's ass. They were just pulling shit in. Oh, some local fans managed to get in there, and so they could take down the ships without destroying. They were going to bulldoze, essentially bulldoze, the big Enterprise A And the Enterprise D's out there, they're just yanking them down. They didn't care. So the guys came in, no, let us take this down properly. And so, yeah, they still end up coming down and beat, but it was something you could reassemble. They were salvageable at least, And something, a lot of them went to good homes, I guess, but these are massive models. That Enterprise A was easily 20, 30 feet. Doug Trumbull would have loved it. That's the size he was wanting to build. But he was, he inherited a lot of the stuff. But he wanted something, at least, 15 feet long for the Enterprise. Instead of, could do this big periscope thing to make a camera get in close and make it look big. He would prefer to get really big. Oh, yeah. No, I've still got, let's see. Let's squash the ship. Unfortunately, let's see. What the hell is that doing up? The reason my Discord was up. Okay. Let's see. Get to my website pics here. Because one of the trips I made out there got a lot of pictures of the Vegas thing. Yeah, here's a good one. Got this one pulled up here. Huh. Well, let's see what I can. Let's see. Yeah, that's that big massive enterprise. They had the entrance hanging over the top there, and figured that that entry was at least 10 foot tall entry. So they figure the size of that motherfucker. You know. Let's see what else we got here. Or not. Come on, nothing's responding here. All right. Whoops. No, no. Nope, no. Okay. Skip the 11-1 picture. Actually, I had this poster. I still do have the book. Pick it up in San Francisco on vacation one time. Let me pick this up so we don't be showing pictures I shouldn't be showing. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. A lot of the artifacts I got pictures of. Let's see. Go back to that. I took the picture. When I was out there. I was out there with my dad on the one. Here is this. This is a 5.5 foot long model they're selling at one of the gift shops out there, based off the Greg Jean model. No lights. It's just a static model. Well, that was a pretty penny though. So, yeah. So that was precisely half scale from the big effects model. Well, let's see if I can figure out how to get to the. Oops, that's something else. Oops, don't do that. That's it. Okay. And what's that one? Oh, yeah, well, they had a full size torpedo, photon torpedo at the entrance of the museum. That's from the Klingon thing. That's that. Yeah, I put this on my little AOL member website back in, God, would have been 92, 93, back when I still did that. Mm, and they're still arguing about Rod and his, let's see. There's that Daedalus class. I'm not sure if this is the actual model that came out of Cisco's office or just, or no, but probably that's he had into the back thing. That'd be the Horizon. That's your Daedalus class right there. And I got a picture of a dancing Ferengi at Quarks. And I got 11. A lot of it was just, this is what it's like in Vegas. And at the place. I didn't take a lot of pictures, but that's one thing I want to ever set up that live stream with Rob Burnett because he did overhead on the big dome thing that had these clips, montages of the various shows, and he helped us. He assembled those clips. So that he watched a lot of Star Trek. Like there's more than a few times you had to pinch yourself. I'm getting paid to do this. Yeah, I think that I've known Rob since the old AOL message board days. Okay, so like I said, if I had managed to get into the film unit out at Norton Air Force Base when I was, if they had been able to let me cross train and get over there, then yeah, I'd have come out of there now a trained filmmaker of some sort, right about the time that he moved to LA to pursue his film studio. So, there's a good chance we would have hooked up at some point. Now, like I said, me, him, and Mark Allen, we would have run the world by that point. I would have been I'd have been the elder statesman of the bunch. Let's see if I can. I'm about 5 years older than Rob. Where do I relate as far as Mark Altman goes? That's him. And actually, interacted a bit with Altman too. Okay, he's just 2 years younger than me. So that would have been interesting. I think there've been a lot of telling Rob, shut up, kid. Oh, Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Okay, yeah, we got 4 people here. And Shadow Man's the only one asking questions. Come on, speak up, people. Get a little lively here. All righty. Oh, I always post them on Twitter. You know, for all the good. Although usually it comes to the spur of the moment, middle of the night when I got nothing else to do. I'm done through looking through everybody else's videos. Okay, I think I'm going to do a little live streaming here. By the way, anybody so inclined, super chats are open, and also all the support links in the description. Because I'm not just doing this for my health, people. I'm trying to make a living at this. Let's see. I also got a half-assembled model of the USS Arizona. That I sort of inherited from the kid system. And right here we got.
Welcome to Altair 4, gentlemen. I am to transport you to the residence.
Got this at Walmart.
Welcome to Altair 4, gentlemen. I am to transport you to the residence.
I just recently figured out how to make him sort of walk. He just shuffles his feet.
For your convenience, I am monitored to respond to the name
All
Robbie.
right. Okay. And occasionally get the guy, clean your room. This is clean. This was worse before when I got it. It was just piled up. At least I got the ships put back together. Various things are within. So you got. Let's see. The concordance stuff is back there. I think this is just writer's guide. I got a big folder just writer's guides and various things, writer's tech manuals. And there's a couple of copies of concordance. One of them is the 92 update, which nobody liked because the editors knew nothing of what they're doing. And then the venerable 76 version with the wheel on the front. Unfortunately, updates are not going to happen on that because Kurtzman and his idiots, now these are Bijo's words, do not want to share credit or royalties. That sums up the approach they make in writing the damn show. They will rip off writers left and right. They will not acknowledge them, so they don't have to pay any royalties. And considering they're talking like several $1 million per episode, I think they can afford to pay out some royalty checks, you cheap scumbag sons of bitches. Because right now, instead of like individual grievances and complaints, it's turned into, you could get a class action lawsuit. There are going to be so many people showing up. They ripped me off. They ripped me off. Ursula K. Le Guin. Notice a lot they're doing dead people. That's one thing they learned from ripping off Anas Abdeen with the tardigrade thing. Okay, anybody else, make sure they're dead first. Makes them harder to sue. So yeah, Ursula K. Le Guin passed away back. Harlan Ellison, if they had done it while he was alive, he'd have stormed down that studio personally. He got wind they're using the Garden for it. Like hell you are. He would have kicked in Kurtzman's door and instead of just hanging a noose outside the office, he'd have brought it with him. Give me a reason why I shouldn't string you out the window right now by your nuts. Okay. And Dorothy Fontana, yeah, wait till she's dead. Well, it's a Star Trek story. We own it, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. Okay. Did you bother to run this by legal law? You just do it. Figure it's easier to get forgiveness and permission. Oh, she's dead? Don't have to even ask for forgiveness. Yeah. So I got plenty of reasons to despise new Trek, just that really have nothing to do with the relative quality. Most of it is just the way they're running the shop over there. These people are thieves. I mean, and the biggest, most egregious effort, was in that last episode of last season of Stranger New Worlds. They did not acknowledge. They have no screen credit to the original author, Paul Schneider, or the episode itself, Balance of Terror, but they cut and pasted the entire goddamn episode. If that's not a violation of a half dozen different rules in the Writers Guild, I don't know what the hell is. That is plagiarism, pure and simple. I don't care if it's a Star Trek story. No, you still have to acknowledge. That's why the animated series was off limits for so long. Because if they did, they'd have been cutting a lot of checks. That's why T'Pol, that's why she's T'Pol and not T'Pau, like they originally planned. Because if they had gone and kept it as T'Pau, guess what? Ted Sturgeon's estate would have been getting a check every time that character appeared. And since she was a series regular, it'd have been every damn episode. That's one thing that, it kind of fits with Paramount's philosophy, but it worked into the thing. You don't want to pay out money you don't have to. So they avoided a lot of stuff. And then why you run these things by, legal, and why the researchers to pick out things. Okay, this is kind of close to this. I mean, little counterexample, when they did the episode Arena, Gene Coon written it up and great, and then when they were ready to go, they were everything cast and ready, and Kellum DeForest came back. This kind of reminiscent of the short story Arena by Frederick Brown back in the 50s, and I can picture Gene Coon's face, just, oh my God, he had read that story back in the 50s and I'd forgotten about it. And thinking, did I rip off Frederick Brown? Oh my, that's the worst thing in the world. A writer with any integrity to think that you may have just committed plagiarism and not even known it. And so it was a mad scramble because again, Frederick Brown had died by then, to get a hold of his widow and buy the rights to do an adaptation of the story, and just kind of leave out the fact that you've already gotten a script written and ready to go. It's like, yeah, we'd like to do an adaptation of your husband's story. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Here's your check. And then, all right. And then back to work. And Gene Coon, man, learned to think a little bit before, I'm sure that probably played into when year or so later, and they're getting ready to do Trouble with Tribbles. And originally they were called Fuzzies, and the episode was A Fuzzy Thing Happened to Me. And it came back because came back from Kellum DeForest, and there's another, L. Bean Piper, a series of stories, Little Fuzzy was it called, and David thought he was on safe ground. But no, Fuzzy's a generic word, and his creatures are nothing like the Fuzzies in Piper's story. They were little short fuzzy, think midget, not quite Ewoks, but kind of midget, Wookiees, little furry creatures, but humanoid type. But it's like, no, we're going to play it safe. Change the name. We're still going to do the story. But change the name of the creatures, and that's where it led to a whole bunch of a lot of nonsense words. In fact, let's see. There is. Yeah. Another book every major Trek fan should have from Trouble with Tribbles. See if I can find the list of words that he went through when he was told you can't use fuzzies. He had submitted a few. He had submitted a few things, a few pitches there. One of them was kind of coming across a generation ship that people have forgotten that there was anything beyond the ship. Okay, the Fuzzies, original pitch. And then going on here. And then go there, get past the outline. This is also a very good book if you're looking to become a screenwriter, because this goes into the whole point of your initial pitch, and then doing a story outline, And he made a point of actually doing some scripting in the outline to show that, yeah, he can also write a script. So the way to, do a little self promotion in the process, because generally they will, I mean, they can easily, buy the story idea, then hand it off to some other writer to do the actual screenplay based on. Yeah, here's what you're doing. Yeah, here we are. Here's all the words that he came up with when Gene could not. So you can't do, furries and fuzzies and yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. David, you can't call your creatures fuzzies. Why not? H. Bean Piper wrote a book called Little Fuzzies. I know, I read it. Was a what? His creatures are nothing like mine. Just to be on the safe side, legal department wants us to change the name. Okay, I suppose that rules out furries. Yeah, that rules out furries. Okay, I'll think of another name. So that evening, sat down typewriter, started making up a bunch of nonsense words. Yeah, she did show up for that, but only there. A couple of episodes, that, and then they had a couple of years to build up to it. But yeah, for those episodes, guess what? Ted Sturges' estate got a check because they were using that creation. But type down Shagbees, Shaggies, Shappies, Gollywog, Gollies, Callahans, Callies, Goonies, Goomies, Goombas, Coombas, Roonies, Charlies, Trippies, Chibbies, Tribbles, Triplets, Trippies, Trippets, Willies, Brazzies, Trifles, Driffles, Piffles, Puffles, Poofles, and a lot of other names. One of them was Trimbles. He wasn't aware of Bejo at the time. It's just a couple of syllables threw together. And then started eliminating stuff. I didn't like Charlies or Roomies or Shagbees and Gollywogs, just those two cute Puffies and Poofies. Also had Callahans and Callies out and Goonies and Goomies, and eventually got down to triplets, tribbles, tribbies, and trippies. Trippies sounded like hippies. Triplets sounded like triplets with a postnasal problem. Tribbies didn't sound good either. So down to tribbles. Okay. Still didn't like it. I think he wasn't in love with it, but okay. He still wanted to use fuzzies at that point. So the tribbles. Okay, tribbles. So, and then, and of course also need a new title. So, okay, tribbles. All right, got a new title. You think you got tribbles? No. Okay. Gene hated the name, but he was okay with tribbles. He didn't like the title. Eventually, yeah. But yeah, there are 3 books. If you really want to get hardcore, this one, Making a Star Trek, and The World of Star Trek, also by David Gerrold. That one goes deep diving on just the whole thing, because this was like mid-70s when the Star Trek phenomenon was really kicking off. That's when you and another one to throw in there, besides the Holy Trinity from Ballantine, is also this little gem here. This has got a lot of good stuff to it too. Put that over here. There's there's a bit in here about Harlan Ellison that needs to be related. Let's just get past the Tribble script. And he's not sure who came up with that last joke at the end with Scotty. The people where there be no Tribble at all. He doesn't know who did that. Nobody would lay claim to it. It shows how to make a Tribble, but you can't sell them because he still holds the copyright on Tribbles. It's kind of his side gig right now. Like, selling Tribbles. A company called Tribble Toys. Oh, and there's a story about a little girl that got a Tribble. Okay,
How much longer are you gonna bake?
What's that matter? Okay, 151.
Huh?
I'll be as long as I need to be.
How long is it gonna be? Because one hamburger is not gonna be enough for dinner.
All right, I'll get to something. Okay, a little thing about kind of a cautionary tale from other ones, like what happened with Sitting on the Edge of Forever. And go with this. And example of it doesn't matter even if William Shakespeare came back and produced the script for things, it would have to be rewritten. Just because that's the nature of the beast. You do not do first drafts on thing. They have to be rewritten. They got to fit on everything. Here we are. Let's see. Harlan Ellison is one of the nicest people you can meet, as long as you don't do it too often. He'll short out your brain circuits. He is funny and caustic and charming and aggressive and stylish and offensive and brilliant and opinionated and short. If he did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. He climbs ladders, pulls the ladders up after him, and keeps climbing. He is Lilliput's answer to King Kong. He is Munchkinland's answer to Godzilla. And he is science fiction's answer to the world. I have to fit an epitaph, but he was alive at the time. Okay, and very active. But he also knew when he was starting to go, he knew he didn't know much. He wasn't really dying of anything particular. He knew he was getting up there and old. He doesn't got much time left. I'm surprised though that he seemed to that he actually liked JJ Trek. And he was still around. He had a message board up for a while, and I thought, how? This is precisely what you accuse Star Trek of being. Every off-base thing. No, this is the fulfillment of what you've accused Star Trek of being all these years. It's a dumb show. Dumbed down pablum. It's like, this is not challenging at all. It's a popcorn flick. Oh yeah, and I recommend also tracking down the big trade pickback where Harlan tells his own thing of the whole nonsense of going through and writing that script, because that was one of the first scripts they commissioned for Star Trek. Back when they're still trying to figure out where they go from the first pilot, there were handovers from the previous Kings where originally the idea was that the communicator would also give you control of the transporter, so you wouldn't have to call somebody to beam us up. No, you hit the thing, you beam yourself up. So that's still in there. Yeoman Rand had a pretty good part in there. There wasn't anything, Captain, I'm frightened. No, she was part of the thing that stayed on the ship and holding off the pirates. If you know anything about the original story, it's like the ship was transformed into a pirate ship. So they were holding them on while Kirk and Spock go Shadano back to the planet, go through the Guardian, and try to undo damage that has been done. But they, I'm not sure I was going with that, but yeah, track that down. That's a good one because it goes in the whole thing, and there's afterwards, and by David Gerrold and by Dorothy Fontana and a few others. She pointed out in hers that if it had been if it had been in the old anthology like a Twilight Zone or a Outer Limits, or One Step Beyond, his story largely would have gone by unchanged, right down to the drug dealing crew member and Spock saving the day instead of Kirk. That would have gone, but unfortunately, he was on a show with continuing characters. And yeah, Harlan does a story. He's off to the next conquest. But we got to live with these guys. We're stuck with these. We got to come back next week. And how are you going to look at Kirk the same way again? If last week he was ready to chuck it all for some dame, in New York in 1930. Like, now we're supposed to. What's he gonna do this week? The fine excuse not to chuck everything. Because Harlan didn't believe in or said he was kind of the thing of like Pappy Boyne and saying, show me her, I'll prove he's a bum. That that was where Harlan was coming from. Whereas Gene Roddenberry was much more an old-fashioned thing. He wanted to give people back their heroes, make something to aspire to. And that meant, no, Kirk is the hero of our show. He has to, stick by his principles and save the day. Which means, no, he's holding back McCoy to make sure that, yes, the love of his life has to get run over, And Shatner, he just did a gut punch to himself when he goes, at the end, let's get the hell out of here. Which, by the way, was network television's first uneuphemised open swear word. It wasn't let's get the devil, get the blazes out of here. No, let's get the hell out of here. Did you see? There were sneaky little things, but like you couldn't even say damn unless it was in couched in the thing of like McCoy, when McCoy was been in Operation Annihilated. So like, you don't give any damnable logic about or in Journey to Babel, talking about Spock. I can't damn him for his loyalty, but you could just say damn. There's the censorship on that thing was back then was big, it's overblown on the issue of social issues. They can, because in fact they got away with it doesn't take a lot of thought to balance that this private little war is about Vietnam. They practically do everything but actually cite Vietnam by name. Talking about the brush wars in the late 20th century, and it's not like it was never done. Because previous years, they had tackled serious issues in television. Of course, there was also a holdover from back when televisions were expensive and only rich, affluent, highly educated people could afford them. So they played to that audience. So they would tackle issues and a little highbrow humor. When TVs got cheap and any schmuck with $100 could buy one, then they figured they had to start playing to the most common denominator. That is something that Roddenberry disagreed with. No, you don't need to sacrifice intelligence for putting out quality TV. Let's challenge these people to actually come along with us. Appeal to the hey, this is a smart show. You want to be smart, right? Well, watch our show. That sort of thing. Because his big mantra for all the writers, there is an intelligent life form out on the other side of that television screen. That is something that current regimes has totally forgotten about. They think we're all a bunch of brain dead morons who will flock to anything named Star Trek. Ah, Star Trek, yeah. And that's why it's like, I think it's like time to if we could pull the plug on it for a while, get rid of the idiots, and retool a bit. Now, that being said, no, Star Trek Legacy does not need to go into development. They did the development. We saw a 10-hour pilot. Everything's developed. Okay, we've got a ship. We've got a cast of characters. We got a pretty good setting here. We just need scripts. That's it. And so you just put those sets in storage for a while. Make remember where you put them. Third season, again, by this point, they'd lost Gene Coon. He had some kind of a little meltdown type of thing. And I'm not going to go into details on that. They mentioned it in Inside Star Trek about what happened on that one, and it was a loss. But but he did, but Roddenberry was getting irritated. That was getting a little too jokey. It's like occasional comedy episodes fine, but it was getting a little too chuckly. And Freiberger, he had a track record that indicated he could do the show the way they wanted to, because he done runs on Wild Wild West and other things. So he had a decent looking track record. It's when you dig a little bit, notice that he'd either only been on the show, whatever show, for like one season, or it last season or only season type of thing. So it wasn't as good as it really looked and everything. But it's like he need to get somebody in there. John Meredith Lucas declined because he line produced the show. Well, not really line, but he became a line producer. For the last few episodes of the second season. That's when Gene Coon left for reasons I won't go into. But he didn't want to pick up for the next season. I think it is definitely an insult that they didn't, Bob Justman should have gotten the job flat out, not associate, but he should have been the producer at that point. He'd put in since the pilots. He had been with them since those first two pilots. and he knew enough. He had a good idea for what kind of stories they need to do. Some of his instincts were a little wonky, but they were justifiable. And and he could certainly keep it on budget because he was the money guy for the first 2 seasons. He could, take a script and just by how much it weighed, tell you how much the script was going to cost to shoot, and be pretty damn accurate. It turns out he'd be within a few $100 of how much that thing was going to cost. But for some reason, Roddenberry just didn't want to hand the keys off to Bob. So I think that's one of the ongoing sins of the original series. Can't say that it would have saved the show, but it would have. You would have had fewer clunkers. And season 3 had a few more clunkers on average than the other 2 seasons. Nothing, it's still. And Way to Eden was one of them. For one thing, you wouldn't have had Chekhov's old girlfriend. You'd have had Joanna McCoy, as originally I did, when Dorothy Fontana wrote that script, as Joanna. I don't agree with the idea of having Kirk fall for. I think a hybrid of the two ideas, because she's supposed to be in her 20s, a nursing student, then have her fall in love with Chekhov. And have McCoy and Chekhov going, they get away from my daughter. Having it with Kirk, like, that gets in issues like, what's this dirty old man slobbering over this 20-something? And stuff like that. It's, and I would like to think, and the children shall lead might not have ever happened. Okay, because they wouldn't have been going for stunt casting. Hey, Melvin Belli wants to do a thing. He wants to do stuff. That was stunt casting. He was a big divorce lawyer. He wasn't an actor. So yeah, let's put Melvin Belli in a shower curtain and floaty lights, and yeah, there's still some very good episodes in season 3. So the season does get a little more flack than it deserves. Nothing in fact that it was the last season though. It's like you put, and Freiberger was in a rock and a hard place type thing, because Roddenberry was pulling back and looking at the exit himself. Justman wasn't happy. Dorothy Fontana was really not happy with him. He's bringing in his own people to take over, and they don't have the institutional knowledge of how we did this the last few years. They're trying to do certain things. And there were bumps in the road along the way. And also, Paramount, they had already made a deal with Kaiser for syndicating the show. So they were going to sink any more into the thing they had to. So they were already, as far as they're concerned, Star Trek is a dead man walking. They're just going to eke out this season. Okay, that's out the door. And they're complaining about the quality. And you start cutting the budget and the thing. It's like, well, yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They ain't got the money to do the show. It's going to look like crap. You're not going to be able to get your top writers anymore. You the hire guys that don't have the resume and will work for cheap. And you get cheap scripts as a result. But also the death slot. And it's some TrekCore.com. I mean, well, not Trek. Fact Trek. Let me pull that up here. Share this with the world here. This is an outstanding website. These guys, do a lot to dispel a lot of myths. There's an interview with Gene back in '74. The rumor going around that this guy played a red shirt back in the day. No. There was another actor, similar name, but this guy never appeared on Star Trek. And here we are talking about, this one dispels the idea that the Friday night death slot. And this is something to start even back when the making of Star Trek was done, but during the hiatus between second and third season, when they knew that no, they're not getting the Monday night, they're going to Friday nights at 10. And the idea that this was a death slot. Let's get on here. But in actuality, it's like not one. It wasn't necessarily a death slot. Man from U.N.C.L.E. aired in that same time slot, and actually did very well. It saved the show. They were floundering a bit at that point. And they got in there, and Man from Uncle had the same demographic as Star Trek. They put the same audience there. So, and also by the time there, Roddenberry's one has Monday night, early, early in this early time slot. What they would have been up against? Let's see if we can get down here. Yeah, here we are. There's where Star Trek Friday night. That was their. This is their second season thing. They were a little early in the night. It looks like, and they did some weird time. They would start shows on the half hour. The idea being, I'm sure, but yeah, Monday night would have been a kamikaze slot. Friday night being just like this would have been walking into a buzzsaw. Because let's see if we can find a. Because Gunsmoke had been renewed. They were trying to do their little, purge everything with a tree in a while, and also there was a myth about, they didn't start using demographics until 1970. No, they did use demographics prior to that. And Gunsmoke is a good example of that because they were ready to cancel Gunsmoke because it skewed too old. They weren't getting the young kids to watch Gunsmoke. It was all old folks. What saved that one is Fred Silverman's wife loved Gunsmoke. So, like, nope, you're not canceling Gunsmoke. So it got renewed. It was canceled by maybe 15 minutes and then back. Going through here, let's see if I can find a slot here. Yeah, and these are top 30 shows that aired in between 56 and 80 in that Friday night time slot. I'm not sure what the lineup, but yeah, Man from Uncle, 65 to 66, was aired in that slot. The CBS Friday Night Movies aired on that slot. Policewoman in the 70s was in the time slot. The ABC Friday, and then Dallas debuted. They were in that thing for a couple of years and did very well. And also the X-Files is an example. They did Friday nights when they came along. So it's not necessarily, but here's the NBC lineup. There it is. The name of the game, that was an interesting show. 90 minutes. That was one of the last of the 90-minute TV shows. But let's see if I can find it. No. We're going to go something else here. Okay. So, TV schedule 1968. 69. Let's get a picture here. Let's see if that's good. That's what I want. That's not what I want. Because I find a button thing. Oops. I might actually have this graphic downloaded somewhere, but Let's see what Star Trek would have been up against if they had aired it Monday nights. Let's see. Trying to narrow this down. That's NBC. I need. Come on, this can't be that hard. Let's see what we got here. No, don't eat that. One thing I miss about TV Guide, though, is they had the big block name. Look at a glance. What's on this channel and this channel at this time? Oh, there's the one for my 5th birthday. Okay. No, I used to find this stuff pretty easy. What the hell happened? All right, let me see if I have this block downloaded somewhere. Might have it somewhere. Let's see. Be in the concordant stuff. TV Guide schedules. Here we are. All right, 69. Yeah, for 1969. Let's pull this up here. All right. Monday nights in 1969, they'd have been going right up against Gunsmoke. And if they'd done a half in, yeah, they've been halfway through Gunsmoke. No one's leaving Gunsmoke halfway through to go watch Star Trek. And then going up against, ironically, Lucy. They'd have been fighting their own former boss at that point. Where, NBC, like, okay, Ronan Martin's laughing, going up for a different audience. They're not watching Gunsmoke anyway. And My World, I thought My World Welcome to It was a CBS show, but okay. That's where I know William Wyndham from. That one there was based on James Thurber stuff. Okay, this is after they already pulled the trigger on Star Trek. So let's see if I can. Here's 68. Okay, when Star Trek is still on there. Again, Monday nights. You'd have been going up against Gunsmoke, The Avengers on ABC. Yeah, there's I, Dream of Jeannie. Okay. That's right. For Mondays, they're doing the serious stuff. Let Gunsmoke and Avengers fight out between that audience. We'll do a different tech. We'll catch the guys looking for a laugh. They get I, Dream of Jeannie and Ronan Martin's laughing. At that point, yeah. Get Ronan Martin's laugh in, and then halfway through that's where Lucy comes in. Or how many people are going to leave what they're already watching? Because not many TVs at that time had remotes. You had to get up and change the channel with the knob. If you had a kid, yeah, go change the channel. So this was the case of the program. We needed to get this show to work. They did not go and set out to kill their own show. You put a show in the air, and again, like Bob Justin pointed out, one thing, they could have killed it after 13 weeks the first season. They didn't. They tried to get something to work. They didn't understood it, but they tried to make it work. Whereas, okay, let's look at Fridays. You're up against the second half of the CBS Friday Night Movie and Judd for the Defense on ABC. And your leading is the name of the game. Oh, High Chaparral is leading off. And it's like, with everything else, it's like, what else are we going to, because, you got a Thursday night movie another CBS movie on Thursday. You got the ABC movie on Wednesdays. And you'd be going up against Jonathan Winters and it's like looking at this layout. Where do you put Star Trek in here that has a chance of living? You're sure as hell not going to put it up Monday nights against Gunsmoke or the Avengers, and the Avengers, and if they did the half-in show, the lead-in, trying to do that strategy, you'd be going up against Gunsmoke and Lucy on CBS and Avengers and Peyton Place on ABC. So yeah, that would have been a kamikaze slot. I'm not sure where you would have put this show, frankly. Because even Thursday nights, early night, Blondie, maybe, I don't know. But Hawaii 5-0 was kicking off by 69, 68, 69. It was really started to kick in. You ain't going against that one. Move it early Friday, you're going up against the Wild Wild West. You know, that ain't going to work either. So to a certain extent, you're kind of stuck with Friday nights at 10. And again, other shows had worked. Other shows with the same demographic, Man from Uncle worked great. It saved the show. It was on the teeter when they put on that thing, and it turned out fine. I mean, otherwise you're looking at moving it to the weekend. And again, you're looking at the complaint about Fridays. Well, Saturdays and Sundays not much different. Your audience is going to be more interested in going out and partying, or a Sunday, it's a school night. And also at that time, Monday nights had certain restrictions, especially early in the evening, that you had to appeal to the kids and have some kind of educational slant to them. And it's like Sunday night, you're going to tell Walt Disney to go pound sand? No, they own that slot for a year. And you're also going to be against Ed Sullivan in the 60s. Wrong. If that's not a death slot, I don't know what it's going up against Ed Sullivan. And maybe you give it Bonanza's slot to go up against the Smothers Brothers. That might have worked. I don't know. You're sure so I'm not going to do it, swapping up, with Phyllis Diller going up against Mission Impossible. Because again, you're talking the same demographic, and also you're going up against your next door neighbors. So the Friday night, death slot is overblown. It's like, no, that was probably the best slot available at the time. And the whole thing about, well, their audience is all out being hip and with it. A lot of kids did actually rearrange it. They did stay home to watch Star Trek and then go out afterwards because it's Friday night. What the hell? Frankly, I'm shocked because I was 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old at the time. No, 68, 69. Friday nights, I was allowed to stay up and watch stuff like it, but I'm kind of surprised I didn't. I was aware of the show. I know that for a fact. So who the hell knows? Okay, we got a pile of notifications that are showing up here on Twitter. Okay, what do I got here? Oh, yeah, that's funny because going back to Mono trained me about, doesn't understand what do conservatives actually like about Star Trek. And Rosetta came back, they think it's so anti-Christian, they don't get, they really do not understand what Roddenberry's personal views were regarding religion. He was not a rabid atheist. That's something that I forget who it was, but was working on when he was doing the show Spectre. They're trying to get the show Spectre going. Got as far as a pilot, but I think may have been Cameron. I think. Yeah, it was Cameron Pasta that worked with Ron on trying to develop the Spectre concept, and he got a lot of notes from Roddenberry on his actual views on religion and spirituality and the supernatural. And he was not the rabid atheist. The closest really you got is the death speech in Where Silence Has Lease, where Picard is basically channeling Roddenberry at that point, because he thinking about, well, some people believe this, but I believe, and this is where Roddenberry coming on now, that whatever is out there, it is beyond anything we as either religious or atheist thing. It's something is going on out there, and we are going to be dazzled when we get there.
Ow. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, here's a response because Matthew Kleinman, if he's available, it'd be nice to someone to come in. Oh, nobody's here. There's a. All right. Clarify a few bits here. Here. Whoops. Misspelled Ticonderoga. Creep. Get back there.
Okay.
What?
Almost done.
Hold on. I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. But oops.
Ow.
Okay, put the thing here that that upsets in Ticonderoga. The Ticonderoga sets are part of James Cawley's Facebook production, where Rod Rutherford's report was Searcher Continues from Vic Mignogna, even telling him that if Gene was still around, he'd consider it canon. And yeah, the Searcher Continues made that extra effort to really try and line up with the established shows. All right, what's about here? And we're talking about things here. All right. Okay. Huh. Okay, it's enough of that rabbit hole. I'll get back to this. Okay, I think we're probably going to wrap it up about there because my attention is being requested elsewhere here. So I think we've shown off my models, debunked a few myths, and hopefully got some things going here that don't have to do with my own personal obsessions over trying to save the world and certain people in it. So, all right. So let me go and conjure up the. Hold on. Let me get that over here. Get the proper outro going here. And there we are. And so we will talk at you later. 2, 3, 4.